everyone. Hello, fellow adventurers, and welcome to the first ever podcast to rule them all. I am Jace Williams, and this podcast is going to help you guys who are huge Lord of the Rings fans, who are huge fans of the movies, just started getting into the books, and saw the Amazon show and a little terrified, maybe, of what's going on, or you're confused on what's going on. I'm going to try to shed some light on it. I'm going to try to give you some info and maybe teach you a few facts, and we'll learn together as we go along this journey. So let's get started. Alright, so the biggest question is, throughout this entire Amazon run, where is this show starting? What point? Because we know it's in the Second Age, but what point in the Second Age? There's so many things that happen during the Second Age. You've got the fall of Numenor. You've got the the journey of Celebrimbor, Elrond, and Galadriel when they leave Lindon. Um, the alliance that forms between Lindon and Numenor. You have Sauron disguising himself as Anatar. And we're going to get to Anatar in a second, because there's a big thing that the Rings of Power, the creators have said, that the first season, we're not going to see Sauron. And that concerns me. But I think they said Sauron. They didn't say anything about his disguised form. So here's my theory, and this is an interesting theory. I think they're going to start in 700 of the Second Age. And I'm going to bring up our first map. This is our first map. Okay, this is the best map I can find with everything on what goes on in the Second Age. You have, oh, actually, no, that is a lie. This is one that's a little bit towards the third. Is it this one? No, that's Numenor. That's the same map. This is Aragon. Okay, we're we're going off on a good start. Anyway, oh no, I had it right. Okay, so we have Numenor here. We also have the sinking of Numenor, but I believe that's going to happen later. I don't think it's going to happen in the first season, and I'll explain my reasonings why. So, first off, we have to start in Lindon, and possibly, I think Galadriel is going to be recalling the War of the Wrath, because we do see that in the trailer. We do see that with her brother fighting what looks to be a bunch of Balrogs, a bunch of essentially a huge battle of orcs, and looks to be Balrogs, and they look amazing. You're gonna see me search a lot in this, because I'm gonna be searching for pictures to show you guys. For example, I'm going to see if I can find power pictures. Trailer. Perfect. Right here. This, I believe, is the War of Wrath, the last battle of Wrath. There's a really good close-up shot of this. We got a lot of... Oh, okay, here we go. Better picture right here. So, back here, I think that's a Balrog. This is all the orcs. That's I believe is Galadriel's brother. Um, so I believe that's going to be a flashback. This here, I also believe, when we saw this, Galadriel climbing up the mountain, I believe is another flashback that we see into the First Age. I'm going to bring back up the map. So Galadriel and her people actually climb over from Valinor through um the mountains up at the top. I forget the mountains' names. But they climb over to get to Lindon, which is right here. This is Lindon. All here is Lindon. They come over, and it's a very treacherous travel. The cold kills at least 65% of those elves. Just to travel alone. So it's a treacherous path. Once they get here, it's like a promised land for them. They rebuild their society. Lindon is reformed. Gil-galad takes leadership of it. But here's why. During 700 of the Second Age, Elrond, Galadriel, her husband, and Celebrimbor all travel east from Lindon. They all traveled to a region. And they establish a region. Celebrimbor establishes this. Where have we gone to? He establishes Ser Ithil, which is right here. And that is the capital. That is the capital. That's where, in Tolkien's works, this is a contradiction because he says that Celebrimbor's teacher created Elisar, the stone that is given to Galadriel, who gifts it to Aragorn in honor of her granddaughter, Arwen. So we're going to probably see that be formed. Celebrimbor and Elrond travel to Moria around this time. They travel to Moria and they meet up with Doran and his dwarves, and they help establish Moria. They help the dwarves make enchanted weapons and armor. They help them essentially become a functioning society to the point where both Eregion and Moria are allies throughout the Second Age. They are like the best of friends. The thing about it is, and this is what I want you guys to think about, is we're going to see the creation of the doorway to Moria. That door that we see in Lord of the Rings that Gandalf can't figure out. I hope they make this joke. When the riddle was created in the books, Celebrimbor says we should make it as easy as possible. And Doran goes, why? Doran is confused on why Celebrimbor, because Celebrimbor says only true friends would know the answer to the riddle. That's why when Frodo says, what's the Elvish word for friend? There's the hint for you that you speak friend and enter. Okay? So during this time, you're going to see those doors being created. You're going to see that bond between elves and dwarves. You're not going to see them butt heads probably until after the War of the Last Alliance. That's when Legolas's father, starts doing things that if Celebrimbor and Gil-galad were alive, he'd probably be stripped of his title of king. So, because the elves are, they're there to help their society, help this society grow and be peaceful. Because the First Age, they destroyed everything. When I mean everything, Malkar just decided, or Markarth just decided he wanted everything for himself. He wanted the whole world to himself. He wanted to paint it in darkness. And I apologize if I screw up on the names. You can correct me in the comments. I'm fine with that. Just don't go, oh well, you're not a Lord of the Rings fan because you don't know what you're talking. I know exactly what I was talking about. I'm bad with names. Okay. So earlier I talked about Sauron and how the show was like, we're not going to show Sauron in the series, not in the first season. Here's why I think that's going to be wrong. And if that is true, this is where I worry that the series is going to fail. Because Sauron, the biggest names in the Silmarillion, which is where this is taking most of their info from. It's Silmarillion and the letters from Tolkien. And if you haven't read those, I suggest you read them. They're amazing books. In both those books, they explain Sauron disguises himself during the Second Age because he knows that if he shows his true form, he ain't gonna get his way. He's not gonna become the Dark Lord that he wants to be. When he comes up with this idea, this tower is already built. The Dark Tower is already built. So by the Second Age, this tower is being made, and by the time that he starts traveling to where Celebrimbor is, in the Silmarillion, in Eregion. When he travels there, he disguises himself as a Valar, or a representative of Valar. He first tries to get in contact with Celebrimbor, or not Celebrimbor. He starts. We just talked about that. He first tries to get in contact with Gil-galad because he is the High Elf of Lindon. He's the most powerful elf in the land right now, and he rules a very powerful land in Middle Earth. He's got all of this right here. All this to him is his land. This is all elven land. And Sauron believes if he can take this out, Middle Earth is his. So by approaching Gil-galad as Alatar, and the name in Elven means bringer of gifts, or gift giver, he can gain their trust and try to start his plan. But Gil-galad doesn't trust him. He doesn't feel like he's the right type of person to teach him this type of magic, and something doesn't sound right. So he sends him away, and at this point, Lorien and Rivendell have been established, but they're not Rivendell and Lorien. They're, I forget their names. I think this is Lithian. Lithian is, I think, is what they named Lorien. And again, I don't think they're gonna show Anatar going to Rivendell and all these different places. They might. I mean, they might. They have a lot of material, but he does go to these different places in the Elvish lands to explain what he wants to do and wants to teach them. And they all go, no, no, we don't trust you. Something ain't right. Why is your enchantments better than our enchantments? Why is your teachings better than our teachings of special weapons? And they don't feel right. Then you come to Celebrimbor, who his main arc in his character is he's always wanting to learn. He always wants to perfect his craft. And this is where Sauron as Anatar is able to manipulate Celebrimbor and his students, essentially, to craft the Rings of Power. Now, I believe this is going to happen within the first season. That they're at least going to craft the first. They're going to craft the Dwarven and the 9 rings. The 7 rings for the Dwarves and the 9 rings for the men. The other thing is, and I don't think they're going to do this in the first season, they might end the first season by doing this. Numenor is going to sink. During the Second Age, I think it's 1600 of the Second Age, Numenor sinks to the bottom of the river. It is completely destroyed. They show, perfect example right here. They show Romanena, Ararion, Aranion. Sorry, again, not good with names. Don't shoot the messenger. They show this entire area. I think that when they had the scene, where is it? Where they show the city right here. This, I believe, is the capital of Numenor, where we're gonna see Isildur. We're gonna see Isildur's father. We're gonna see all this. I believe this is gonna be in the beginning of it. As time goes on, you know, we're gonna see a lot of changes happening, especially with Numenorians, because they start to get an idea from Sauron, disguised as Anatar, that they can become immortal if they attack Valinor. Now, I don't have a map of Valinor today. I couldn't really find a good map of Valinor. Valinor is the lands that Gandalf, Frodo, and eventually Sam, after his wife dies, goes and visits, and they finally die. That is where they are. So the Numenorians declare war on Valinor. That doesn't go well with them. And the Valar find out, and they sink Numenor. And the Numenorians, they wind up bringing themselves over to right here, southern Gondor. They start setting up in southern Gondor. Isildur starts moving up to Minas Tirith. He doesn't establish Minas Tirith yet. He establishes Minas Morgul first. And that falls after the Witch King falls. The Witch King is the first of the Fallen. And this is where I'm thinking the first season's going to end, because I think we're going to see the first Fallen. Because I believe this is the Witch King, which is amazing. Now, here's the thing. Tolkien never states who the first Fallen is. The only thing he states in his books is he was a great Numenorian king. So he was one of the great Numenorian kings. I think it could be oops. It could be possibly Isildur's father. Or Elendil's father, who is king of Numenor at that time. So, the other thing we're going to see is the Numenorians are going to come over to Lindon, and they're going to start an alliance with Gil-galad and Lindon, and the elves of Lindon. When they do this, it actually forms a bigger bond with them. And when they start realizing that Sauron is Anatar, then things are going to start getting really, really scary for the elves, because when Celebrimbor kind of puts the pieces together, that's when he creates the three rings for the elves, and he creates them in secret. He gives one to Grimnar, I believe that's his name, Grimnar, the protector of the shores, keeper of the shores, which he is here. And this is in the bays of Balor. This is where Frodo and all that, and Gandalf and Elrond and Galadriel all set sail to Valinor. He's the only one that allows access to Valinor. Go in and out. He gives one ring to him. He gives a ring to Gil-galad, which in turn he gives to Elrond. And then the final ring, the Ring of Air, goes to Galadriel. And I really hope in the series they do show that Celebrimbor has a love interest in Galadriel. Because another thing in his arc is everything that he did was for Galadriel. He created the Elisar as a gift to Galadriel to show his love. When she gets married and Celebrimbor starts putting the pieces together that Anatar's not a good guy and I have a bad feeling about this, and he creates those rings in secret with the same styles as Sauron, but he puts his own elven twist on it to protect the elves. He gifts Galadriel as a last ditch effort. The last ditch effort to Galadriel to protect her. And then Aragion does fall when Sauron finds out about the three rings, because there were only supposed to be 17 rings, 16 rings technically. And Sauron in secret in the Dark Tower, and Orodin, Mount Doom, he creates the One Ring. In the books, Celebrimbor finds out about Sauron's plan after the first Fallen. After the first Numenorian has the ring and has turned into the Witch King. And has realized, I just gifted Doran one of my rings. That was also created by Sauron. When doing so, he tries to get all of the rings back, or at least he tries to get and hide the rest of the rings, but Sauron comes in and he attacks Aragion, destroying it, killing Well, he doesn't kill Celebrimbor just yet. He captures Celebrimbor, takes those rings, and he already has the one that he gave to the Witch King, and he already knew about Doran, so he left Doran alone because Doran helps Elrond. At a certain point during the fight, Elrond comes in and tries to save Aragion from being destroyed, and it doesn't go well. Elrond retreats. Doran, who hasn't really put on the ring yet, sends the elves into the mines, closing off the mines and locking them in to protect them. And I think we're going to see that in the show too. Um, and Doran does eventually. I think in the poster it shows. No, it doesn't show in the poster because this is Doran. By the way, this is our buddy Doran. The other thing we might see, and I think I'm going to end. I might end the podcast here to explain it. There are other wizards, and we'll get into more depth in the next podcast. But I do believe we're gonna see at least the blue wizards. I don't think we're gonna see Gandalf yet. I don't think we're gonna see Sauron or Radagast, but we're gonna see the two blue, blue wizards appear in Lindon after Sauron has revealed and Aragion is gone. And I do think that's gonna happen in the first age. If not, the other thing I can see, and this goes back to these posters here. Let me see if I can find another good poster here of. And I do think they're gonna tell, because I think this sword here also is a story from the first age. This broken sword. I'm not sure. I do not believe this is Narsil or the Sword of Elendil. I don't think that it could be that. Um, I am very curious to see how this character develops, especially in the show. He is a original character. I love the casting. I love how we're getting diversity in it. We're getting we're still getting the true story of what Tolkien wanted in his books. Um, I believe these are hobbits. I believe these are hobbits. Um, I'll go into a lot of the photos. Character posters because I wanna get into a lot of these. Here's Galadriel in her armor. I love this outfit, by the way. I love this armor. It looks really good on her. And I would love to see Galadriel fight and see her true power. I want to, because, yeah, Peter Jackson touched on Galadriel's power, but didn't do it justice. I love the Peter Jackson films. I love them to death. They are amazing visually, storytelling wise. They did what they needed to do. But it leaves out a lot. And that's the problem with adaptations when you have a world like Tolkien's, is you can't just have a movie, a 3-hour movie, and think that this is going to be a 3-hour, 4-hour movie. Even with the extended cut, you still had a lot of characters missed, a lot of big key points that Tolkien hits on. Um, that we're going to talk about. Here we go. Perfect. This character right here, we saw him in the trailer. I believe this is one of the Blue Wizards. A lot of people say this is Radagast. I think not. Because Radagast and Gandalf and Sauron don't show up to Middle Earth until after Sauron has revealed himself and the Last Alliance has been formed. That's when they show up. We see here, I think, now that I've seen the trailer, I believe this is Gil-galad. A lot of people said this is a Numenorian nobleman of a king or some kind. I don't think so. This is the lady from the trailer, the Hobbit that we saw. I think she is going to meet up with one of the Blue Wizards, and we're going to see their side of the story. Oh, excuse me. Oh, did I do something wrong? Did I do something wrong? I did do something wrong. I did it again. Hold on. When in doubt, history. Darn it. Whoops-a-daisy. Character posters. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. We fixed it. So, the one I really want to touch up on is this one right here. The first season, which it's way out of left field because, oh, here's another map. And here is the plains of Valinor, or Amen, which do get attacked and sink Numenor, because they actually attack right here. This is where they attack. Right here. Numenorians attack this, and the Tower of Pearl, and the Valar get involved, and they're like, okay, well, you're going to do that? Boom. We're just going to sink your island, and that'll be that. I'm glad I picked this. I got this one too. Okay. So, we're going to see the forming of the early stages of Rohan. Not the full thing, because Rohan doesn't get formed until the Third Age. Like 400 years into the Third Age. That's when Rohan gets established. However, their people are here in Mirkwood. They're here in Mirkwood, and their story is amazing. And I will touch up on them in the next podcast. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the Blue Wizards because they are going to be a big part. Well, you know what? I'm going to touch up on. Nope. Nope. One of these is right. This one. Duh. So let me touch up on this because I've been throwing myself around. So this is the Rohirrim. This is the beginning of the Rohirrim. Theoden's ancestors. We're gonna see them join up. I don't think they're gonna be in the Battle of the Last Alliance. I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. I don't even think they were aware of the situation that goes on here in Aragon. They might change it because I think this is gonna be if they're gonna do the story, then the story right. There is a work encampment over here. See, there's Goblin Town. Um, Great. Uh, there is a orc faction that starts a war here up in Mirkwood, which causes the future Rohirrim to travel to Rohan. And during the Battle of Asciliath at the time, that's when they come down and they actually stop Sauron from taking Asciliath. Miss Morgul, on the other hand, is gone at that point, and they form camps here. Rohirrim starts forming camps that they send their stewards, their princes, and a couple of their troops down here to make sure Asciliath doesn't fall. And it's around that time where Theoden's mother and father give birth to Theoden, but we won't see that until the Third Age. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay. So I think we're gonna see the Blue Wizards. We're gonna see the Shire. I think like an earlier version of the Shire where it's starting to come up, it's starting to build up. It's not what we've are used to in Peter Jackson films, but I do believe the Blue Wizards travel to the Shire and they start learning about the land and they start learning about the world. That's why when Gandalf appears in the Shire in the Third Age to find Bilbo, the hobbits already know what wizards are. And they're a little sketchy. They're a little like, oh, do we trust this wizard? Because this wizard's gray. The last two wizards they saw were blue. What's the difference? So they are hesitant when they first meet Gandalf. Where do I want to end up? Okay. So here I want to finish up with this. I think season 1, and this is just a theory and a prediction, that season 1 is going to end with the capture of Sauron in Numenor, where he manipulates the king of Numenor to attack the Valar, and Numenor sinks, and that is when Celebrimbor realizes, yeah, I think we got a problem with this Anatar person. Which, that doesn't make sense though, because Anatar is still in his human form. When Numenor sinks, he loses his elven, like, physical form and goes back to his, what we see in Lord of the Rings, his terrifying Dark Lord look. So I really think that's going to be where it's that, or we're going to see the Battle of Aragon happen. And that's where they're going to end it. Or they're going to end it with the forging of the Great Rings. And Anatar is already starting his progression. I'm not sure, but this is how the timelines go, and I hope you guys learned lot on this amazing journey. Join us next week to continue our journey, because I am going to actually go through the timeline of Gil-galad, the High Elven King of Lindon, and what possible role he might have in Season 1 of The Rings of Power. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I will see you all in the next amazing one.